I'd like to call to order the Bucksport Town Council meeting for Thursday, October 13th, 2016. Roll call, please, Kathy.
Joseph York.
Here.
Paul Rabb.
Here.
David Key.
Here.
David Keane.
Here.
Peter Stewart.
Here.
Paul Dobbin.
Here.
Robert
Here.
Conrad Jr.
Item 3, a presentation of any town council recognitions. I don't believe we have any tonight. Item 4 is consider minutes of previous meetings. Have none. Item 5, receive and review correspondence and documents. First one being weekly construction summary for the sewer treatment facility. Susan.
Yes, you have the reports from the week of September 30th and October 7th, which outline completion of work between September 26th and October 10th at the new facility. I attended a construction meeting there this past Wednesday. All is going well. They're doing well time-wise, and if you've looked at the site, it's the big holes are getting filled in with buildings, so we're making progress.
All right, thank you. Item B, Down East Transportation Incorporated September ridership report.
This is the monthly report we received in regard to this. I did call Down East Transportation in regard to the cab one, which showed a lot of canceled trips. What the contract is for 1 day a week for the cab to come and do things, and whether it actually does things or not, it comes to Bucksport, and it's the $100 a week for that, because there have been questions in the past about usage, etc.
Any questions on that? Let's go to item C, Safety Enhancement Grant application from the Fire Department.
There are two here that were submitted by the Fire Department to Maine Municipal Association, one for 3 cold ice water rescue with life vests and rescue rope throw bags, and a second for an electric chain hoist. They will be notified sometime this month about whether or not these applications have been awarded.
Thank you. Item 6, new ordinances to be considered or introduced. I don't believe we have any. Item 7, discussion items for managers' clarification and direction or council discussions or input on issues. Item A, being Finance Committee update.
We had a Finance Committee meeting last week to go over some of our investments that we have. Council members, a while back, we had the first come in and gave us a presentation, and we decided to go with a equity-based program for a little more, risk is a scary word, but I'm going to say a little higher return on some of the money that we had in some of our accounts. I'm pleased to report that that actually worked out very well so far this year. We're at almost 5% that we're gaining on that money, better than the 1.0% that we would have been getting with CDs. And so we decided we had some extra money. Susan, if you want to continue on with where the extra money came from. And
we had 4 CDs which came due through Camden National. We did a bid process, so we received rates from 5 different banks. Camden National and the First were the highest of the 2, and since Camden National has bricks and mortar in the community, and the First was the other one, which was slightly higher, 0.15. We split the investment with $1.7 million staying with Camden National, and those funds are undonated fund balance funds. There were the 3 other CDs were reserve funds that are part of the approximately $2 million in reserves that the town has dedicated for long-term purchase and maintenance in police, fire, public works, all manner of accounts. And that $579,000 over those 3 accounts was awarded to the First for investment in the same manner that the council had approved for the other reserve, the other $656,000 a year ago, that is 75% invested in guaranteed investments, CDs, treasuries, and 25% in equities, which are not individual stocks but through growth funds. and the average on overall of 100% of that money invested through the first was almost 5% in the past year.
And
So-
the other nice thing about that is that, if you remember, we had talked to them about what their fee charge was. With the extra money we put in there, we actually got them to come down 5 basis points on their fee that they're charging us,
So that is where that is, that in recognition of the fact that Camden National is a member of the community in terms of bricks and mortar here and service, the 1.7 million was invested in CD at 1%, and the 579,000 that's in long-term reserves, which doesn't need to be used within the next 5 years, is in the first for the 75-25% split that the council had approved.
and both entities were very happy with that outcome.
Yes, both Camden National and the first were in attendance at the meeting and aware of what.
Any questions on any of that?
Are there other towns that are doing the same thing and benefiting?
Yes, I don't like the word risk, and especially when it comes to anything, but certainly not when it comes to town funds. So I came here when you'd already done this, made this choice, and the first was there, and I met with the first and made it really clear that depending on how things looked at the end of the year, we either would be continuing to do it or we might not be continuing to do it. But the funds that the equities are not individual stocks. They're managed funds that are less susceptible to reading tomorrow morning if one company goes somewhere that tanked. But growth funds are a combination of equities that are done. So it's the risk is minimal because until you sell them, you have neither earned nor lost. It's an on-paper transaction, but at this point, the on-paper growth of those is up.
And
Brings the overall performance of all of the money to almost 5%.
the amounts that you have, you think that's a good way to do it, the 75-25?
I would not ever recommend you go any higher than 75. The only thing that the town did that's higher is a 50-50 is in a year ago, a little less than a year ago, when you received money back from the Maine Public Employees Retirement System. You received $448,000 or something like that. And the council decided to invest that through the first with 50% equity, 50% securities, with the idea to grow that fund so that it could be used on an annual basis to offset your employee retirement costs after a certain amount of time. So right now, that also is invested and earning. It's earning at a higher rate because it's 50% equities. But that, at 50%, was, I hate to characterize it this way, it's kind of money that fell from the sky because it was money that was earned through investment through the Public Employees Retirement System that came back to the town as its share of what had been earned on those amounts over time. So that money is, other than some interest, will be tied up for a long time. And the purpose of that was so that the town didn't simply slap it all on 1 year of retirement and then have to go or turn around and raise $65,000 the next year, but instead to use a small amount a year to offset that cost and let the principal grow.
Are we, maybe you mentioned it, but in that fund, are we locked in 75, or can we go to cash?
You can
anytime
go.
we
You
want?
can change it at any time you want to. Right now, it's at. And if, for some reason, trends show that the treasuries or the bond is better they can move that around, but right now that's not the case.
Any questions from the public on this? If not, we're going to go on to the agenda items. First item on the agenda is a request to sell Christmas trees and wreaths on town-owned property from Abram Allard. Mr. Allard? Would you like to- Yes.
Thanks for having us. I know everybody here, I think, but I'm Abram Allard. This is David Witham. We'd like permission to sell Christmas trees on the vacant lot next to H&R Block. We'd need the space for about 2 months. I think we'd start setting up like the first week in November, consistent with the town decorating, and sell right up through a few days before Christmas. We have our wholesaler lined up, and we'd sell direct-to-consumer retail, and I think it's a good spot for something like that. And I actually have, I don't think I have enough for everybody, but I have a layout for that space. So we're here to see what you think.
That's the Feldman property we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now there's 2 entrances, there's boulders across them. We could take care of moving those out of the way. We're kind of thinking we could have an entrance and an exit for proper flow. It's a huge spot, so tons of parking. This is where we figured we'd lay out what we're going to sell.
So you're talking about parking inside the lot itself?
Yeah. There's Main Street parking too, but it's so open in there and it's pretty flat.
So for a snowstorm hits with a foot of snow, are you planning on plowing,
Yeah.
plowing
Yep.
that?
Yes. Yep, we've thought about where we're going to push the snow. We've been on site a couple times. You can see it coming across the bridge. It might promote people taking a left instead of a right, which is something we've always tried to do. And we'll have fun with it. It's going to be, as soon as everybody sees the Whiskey Barrel Christmas trees on Main Street, that's when people start thinking about that kind of thing. And we're hoping to make it a yearly, maybe not with this spot, but we'd like to have this be a tradition in Bucksport somewhere with the Christmas tree sales.
And did you have a thought of what you would want to pay for the use of this property?
Well, there's a very small profit margin. There's not much of a markup. We're hoping that we could just have permission to use it. And then there's the risk on our end of not selling out and having inventory left over, which you could potentially lose money on it.
And I'll ask the town manager, what's the town's risk for just giving a piece of property for somebody to do a venture like this to sell if somebody slips and falls or?
If the council were to approve this, they would have to provide liability insurance that holds the town harmless for anything that were to occur on that site.
I own a construction company, a landscape company, with a $2 million liability insurance policy. This falls under that umbrella, so we would be covered.
The only thing that
with
would be necessary with that would be that company would have to issue a rider with a thing that specifically holds the town harmless.
Sure.
Town harmless for that particular site.
Sure.
That is a requirement.
Yep. And I don't think that'd be an issue.
I don't know if we have a policy about having vendors on public land.
Well, I remember we talked about that last time, and he said there's nothing in the ordinances about it, so there wasn't even a permit required from what he was saying.
Have you talked to the code officer at all about this?
Yep. We spoke with Jeff.
What did he
Yep.
give you for direction?
He advised us to come to this meeting. I don't think we need to be a licensed vendor since we're not selling, goods. We're selling, trees, and I think just a permit is what we thought. Is all we thought we might need. But we're willing to do whatever we got to do.
There's another location, the old White's Exxon property. Have
Yeah.
you approached those people at all about possibly setting up down there? That would be private property as opposed to public.
we think that might be a little too much congestion with traffic, with people coming in and out of Hannaford when we'd be busy, when people get out of work. We approached Weber, which is the old, it's across from the post office, and we're awaiting permission on that. I don't know where.
Oh, the one where the barbecue guy was?
Yeah,
Right.
yep. So, and we have a couple other spots not in Bucksport, and we're going to do it somewhere. This was our priority. This is where we thought it would be the best spot.
I see you've got a shed. Are you
That's a
moving-
trailerable, enclosed. It'll be like a cottage, like one of the storage sheds you might see, but it'll be on a trailer.
Okay.
Just maybe
Where-
6 by 12.
Where's your, for lack of better, where's your office space at? Where
That
you-
would be the shed.
The shed,
Yeah, the
that's where you-
cottage. Yeah, it's on a trailer though.
Okay.
Yeah, and this way, when we do get a storm, and we will, we have a plan of attack on how to plow it, keep it free of snow and ice. So, we each plow. So that's not an issue.
How many trees do you have coming?
100.
100?
I think it'd be a nice addition to the downtown area during the holidays. The only question I have is there something in any of our ordinances that prohibit vendors on public property?
yeah.
When do you have to absolutely know?
The sooner the better. We've already started. We have our order in with our supplier. I guess a week. Is that something that would be doable, or do you need more time?
I remember this conversation, Mayor, last time, and the code enforcement officer said we don't have a policy, it's not in our ordinance, because I remember he asked to go down on the waterfront, and that's when that whole thing started. I think it's a great idea. They're local, they grew up here, wanting to, put something up for a seasonal. I think it's a great idea. It's vacant. No one's using it. Might bring people over to look at it, look at the property.
Kathy has some.
Jeff and I have talked in detail, and we have found nothing in the ordinance on that.
Okay.
Same as policy.
I didn't hear that. We have what?
Jeff Hammond and I have been talking also about with Abram, and we found nothing in the
Okay.
ordinance.
So, anyway, you're going to have to go get a permit. It's going to come back before us anyway, correct?
It's not even a permit required because it's farming and it's never been required. So this is part of when they start taking up Chapter 6 licensing.
That's what I was looking at,
Needs to be
part of it.
reviewed. Yeah.
I think it's a great way to get people down to the town this season and give it a try. And
We've already lined up Channel 5 to come do a story on it. I think it'd be fun and good for the town.
Yeah, subject to the liability question and your company giving us that letter.
Sure.
I move that we permit this tree thing from November 1st to Christmas or a little beyond.
Yep.
I guess there's not much market for Christmas trees a little beyond.
Probably not. If we got any left over, we'll give them away.
Second.
And you're gonna clean that whole area up when
Yep.
you're done?
We'll leave it just how we found it.
I'd like to open this up for public comment on that. If anybody would like to, yes, Mr. Rotella.
Rich Rotella, Economic Development Director for the town of Bucksport. I've also spoke with Jeff about this. He's still under review with the Chapter 6. It hasn't been updated. This came up with the food vendors. And at the last council meeting, we suggested maybe moving the food vendors also to that property during the summertime. I think this will give us a pretty good indication of what the property could bring. As the guy said, as soon as these people turn left off the bridge, it's one of the first things you'll see. And it may help us with our decisions when we look forward about maybe putting vendors in that same spot.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else in the public?
I'd like to talk from here, if I may. Now, you're gonna run this probably after dark. You're gonna need lights and stuff like that, right?
Yep. Oh yeah. We'll have it well lit. Yes.
Got your own generator, you're gonna plug into the...
Well, if there isn't power on the pole, are there Christmas trees there on that side of the street now?
I don't believe in that spot.
In
no.
that spot, no. Well, we can do, with the town's permission, a 100 amp service in that spot.
If you could really light that up, and people could see it from on.
I know, that'd be cool.
I like what Rick said here too. It's good to use that property.
Yeah, and we've been talking with Banner City, Kim Delbridge, on our signs. Like we're gonna do it right, and we're gonna have it very professional looking. So decorations and lighting would be huge. Yeah.
You're talking a 100 amp entrance?
Well, if there isn't an outlet there, and we'd have LED lights, it's not like we draw a lot, but we could do, we could do a service there.
Yeah. With your own meter and stuff like that?
Correct,
okay.
yeah. I think there's an outlet there, though.
Any other comments from the public on this? Yes, sir.
If the meter would be, the service and meter would be left there for the town, maybe that would be one way to recompense the town for the use of the property. It could be used later.
Well,
Sure.
at all. We'll have to look at that.
Yep.
Anybody else have any comments on this? Mr. Key, did you have a motion?
I did, already made it.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded to approve the request to sell Christmas trees and wreaths from the town-owned property, but from Abram Allard. Nothing more from the public? Nothing more from the, yes, sir.
One more. Is it possible to put some kind of a seasonal roadside sales permit application for it like this? Added to, would that be a more simple?
We can't do it now because it's not.
Understandable.
Right,
I
so
didn't know
but that's
if-
one of the things we're looking at in Chapter 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, super.
Okay. Anything else from the council? Yes, sir.
I don't in any way want to comment on what they want to do, but you might want to check with Andy Locker, because he's done a Christmas decorating downtown, has had an arrangement with a local Christmas tree grower, and I don't know if that would be affected or impacted in any way, because he's been purchasing those at a discount. And again, I'm not trying to influence this at all, but you should be aware of it.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded. Nothing further from the council. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
Good luck, fellas.
Good luck. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Item B, to approve Resolve R 2017-26, to approve the expenditure of up to $40,000 for the purpose of conducting an in-house revaluation to be completed by 4/1/2018 for the assessment date from 2018 to 2019. Mr. Fitzgerald.
That's what we talked about last
Yes.
meeting, correct?
Hi, Jeff Fitzgerald, Town Tax Assessor. So last meeting, we discussed the memo, and in this meeting, I did provide a job description that we're talking about, a part-time, temporary job per hour with no benefits, but someone who could help do the work that I can't do in my regular schedule. So we're assuming that it'll take, up to 20 hours a week for the next year and a half to 2 years, and there's also money in that budget for extra expenses, postage, and other things that would be needed to communicate with people about this. So I'm just here to answer any questions if you might have any more.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And the economic impact was considerably less than contracting that out, as I recall.
Yes.
$150,000 less.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, a savings of in excess of 200.
The 200 is if you put it out to
Yeah, okay.
outside.
And when was this going to start?
Well, as soon as we can.
Okay.
We'd have to put an ad in the paper and on MMA website and on a listserv for assessing professionals, to find an appropriate person. So.
Would this come under undesignated funds? Okay.
When Finance discussed this some months ago, before this time, was the Finance Committee's recommendation was to keep this an in-house process rather than an outside consultant process, which would be about $200,000, and to utilize fund balance as is, because it's a once every 10-year expenditure.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolve. Anything further from the public? Yes, sir.
Morrison, East Bucksport. How is this more work than the man is capable of doing? How did we get to a position where this becomes more work than he's capable of doing? His description as a job is town assessor. How did he end up having to have an assistant to do his job?
Actually, I think what he's proposing is to, normally what happens in this case, every 10 years, you actually go outside and hire an outside concern at roughly $200,000
To do what?
to assess all the properties in town, to reevaluate them.
Then if we have to hire somebody from outside, why do we have a tax assessor? I mean, this is a job that is part of his job description.
He can't do 100% of the community in a matter of months or whatever.
And over the course of 10 years, no one realized this till now.
That's how it's been forever. Every 10 years, the town does that.
I understand that.
Every 10 years, the town hires someone out for 200 grand. We're not doing that. We're trying to save the 150 and getting someone to help him do it instead of hiring somebody out.
And it's just too complicated for him to do it himself.
It's too time constricted.
I could answer that.
Yeah, why don't you answer it, John?
It's a good question, and it's not too complicated. It's just too time consuming. If you think about going to every house in town, we have 2,000 homes, and you need to make an appointment to go inside and have someone show you through their home or let you look at their home and redo that. We have homes that I have no record of anybody ever been inside, and some that are decades old, the record that we do have. So it's just old data. We're not confident that we have all that. So, the question, I guess, is why can't I do that? Why can't I do the internal inspections in my regular schedule? It just takes too much time. That's all I can say. I mean, if anybody would want to come and discuss, what my job description is and what I do all day, I have an 8-page job description. So there's things you could never imagine what the state asks us to do. And so there's paperwork all the time that we're doing, and so I'm not wasting my time. I'm doing the best I can to keep up with stuff, but this is just beyond the usual maintenance of our data and the ability of one person to keep up with in a 10-year cycle.
Is part of your question, Jim, that I'm not judging the amount of time you're spending on your job. I don't think Jim knows or anybody can pass judgment on how you're spending your time during the day. But is your question more, if it's a 10-year thing, why don't we start doing full evaluations? I'm not saying we should. I'm just saying, is that your question? So that they're all done every 10 years and then you keep starting over. Is that part of what you're getting
who
at?
decided what 10 years? I mean, if you did 300 this year and 300 next year and 300 the year after, it's 10 years before you come to the next one.
That piece of it.
It just doesn't seem organized the way they've got it set up.
Okay. So I've been on the job going on 5 years, excuse me. So I created what I could do in that 5 years was to divide the town up into 5 segments and every year do an external inspection. So at the end of this fall, I will have completed that. I've been to every property in town and done an external inspection and photographed each one and checked our property card to make sure from what I can see from the outside that it is consistent with what we have in our data system. What we can't do is see inside, and there's a good chance that most houses you can guess what's inside by what's outside. But there are houses that you don't, and there are features that you just don't know. So that's just part of really understanding the properties that you're evaluating is being able to inspect the inside. So that's what this is all about. And it just takes a lot of time. If you tried to do that with one person, I don't think you could do it in a 40-hour week. That's not my experience that a person can do that. And that's why I've come to the council to ask for the extra help so that we can do that work that can't be done in the regular course of things.
One more question while you're up there, Jeff. If you, the person that we hire, if there's conflict in amount, will you be able to reevaluate it yourself? If let's say that nothing's changed since the last reevaluation, is that something that you would, if a citizen had a concern with their evaluation going up a considerable amount or whatnot, is this person going to be as qualified as you are to do that? That's the question, I guess.
Well, in the job description, I've asked for the preferred qualification as a certified Maine assessor or a certified assessing technician that would have the training and the knowledge of the Maine law and the procedures to do the job. Even if the person is more qualified than me, as the town assessor, I'm still responsible for their work. And that's one of the things that we didn't talk about regarding hiring an outside firm. I was in the city of Ellsworth employ when they did their last citywide revaluation. Excuse me. And my desk happened to be in the assessing office, even though I was in the planning department. And I saw the process and the frustration of the assessor because they had hired and spent $250,000 to do this revaluation, and he pretty much had to do the whole thing himself, review everything himself at the end, because as the assessor, even though you pay them all that money, when you sign the commitment, you're still responsible for it. So yeah, there has to be a review, there has to be an oversight by the person who's the official assessor. So that's the beauty of being intimately involved in the whole process.
What's the purpose of going inside the home? I thought basically assessment was do the dimensions of the home, how many stories, do you have other outbuildings on the property?
Yep.
Boom, that was it. What's the purpose of going inside?
Well, the quality of the home inside could be quite different. The amount of finished areas and all that. Whether there's a finished basement or not. There are things, whether you have granite countertops. There are some things that are just more valuable that you don't know about unless you see them or you get information on them. So, that's what scares people about having the assessor in their house. I might see something. But that's the job. We're supposed to know the market value, as estimated for each property that we assess. So.
Susan.
But it's more than that. It's number of bathrooms, and is there a new something that is for assessment purposes? Another bathroom in a residence increases the value, regardless of exterior square footage. And the other thing that the process does, and the reason it would take from now until April of 2018, is that there's a whole review process and a process of sending out any new values to every property owner and to give them an opportunity to question what's been cited on their property as a value, and working through all of that before you decide that the new valuation is the one that you're going to use for that next thing. So it's inspections, it's working with the residents to review all of these things, and the interior inspections, as he said, there are some things, granite countertops, but there are things as additional bathrooms or a basement that's been finished. Those have a different cost value, and Bucksport didn't establish these rates. These are rates established through information provided by the state of Maine, which is who he actually is responsible to for doing this assessment. He works for the town of Bucksport, but the assessment has to pass muster and is inspected annually by the state of Maine in order to do that. So it's there's more to it than the inspections, certainly, and the doing it once as opposed to a little bit over 10 years is that the creating equity is the purpose of this. Equity across all classes of taxable property, that they're all treated the same at the same time, and that's what the one-time thing is supposed to do.
Mr. Mayor,
Now, a person can refuse to let someone in their home,
Yes, they can.
but in doing so, then they lose their ability to appeal an assessment.
Yeah, that's correct.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
And of course, values change in the town, sometimes year to year, but certainly decade to decade. And I think what Susan just pointed out is pretty well stated in the second paragraph from the end in the proposed ordinance, the proposed resolve, which says, whereas property owners would have the opportunity in this process to review any new assessment and ask questions to appeal new values. I think that's an essential part of it that gives them a chance to no, you're way off base because blah, blah, whatever, and have their say as far as what the assessment's going to
Sure.
be. Yeah.
One more thing with this, for some citizens that might be concerned, is it going to come with maybe many people having code violations that might end up getting problems from the code enforcement officer or anything like that with this evaluation? I know it is separate, but just as concerned, some people may be in the town of Bucksport, if that would be a problem or not. And I know that's not part of your job, but I don't know if that is that when you say, oh, this person had a swimming pool and they didn't have a permit for it, is that going to end up causing frustration for some people or whatnot?
Probably.
Good.
It would be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't avoid those things. If people aren't following the rules and you discover what they've done, then you deal with it. It's just what happens.
Seems like, yeah, it seems like it might be just a little bit of an invasion of privacy type thing.
Well, if they're not paying their fair share, they're not getting their permits, then, and it comes out, I think
I'm just merely asking because I just wonder if it is that way or not, so.
Yeah. And I'm not looking for code violations. I'm not trained to do that, and that's not what I'd be doing.
They will be there, though.
I mean, if somebody's got wires, electric live wires hanging from the ceiling, I'd probably say something, But most things I probably wouldn't even notice because I'm not trained to do that. So.
Back to the amount of time taken, a typical man year, person year, whatever you want to call it, only has 2,080 hours in a year. And if we have 2,000 homes, you can't do all of those, do a home an hour, so, and plus the other duties that you have. So to me, looking at 2 years to get all this done with 1.5 people, that's still going to be hustling along. The other thing is, back to Mr. Morrison's point, if you broke it out 300 homes and year after year, that would take almost 7 years to get that done. And back to the town manager's viewpoint of the last town meeting, then when the appraisals are done and the revised numbers are all put in, now the gap that people are going to have to make up is going to be really significant. So I think to get this done in the next 2-year period really makes sense. I mean, at the last town meeting, I spoke to others and said, geez, after what the people have gone through in this town in the water district with water rates and sewer rates and the treatment plant, now we're talking about this reevaluation, but it's something that it's a decade old. It has to be done. If we extend it out, then it's just going to be it will go from bad to, it could work out well for some, others not so well, but it could be a brutal thing if we let it go another 6-7 years. So my opinion is we go through it with this extra person and that's my thoughts.
And it's not as though I don't do any internal inspections. I've been doing them every year I'm here. It's just, they don't add up to the number we need to get done. So that's why we're asking for the help.
I've had you at my home since I moved in.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor.
What was that statement he just made? They don't add up to what?
Well, in the course of my normal duties, I do an internal inspection if it seems appropriate and needful. But it doesn't, the number I do during the course of the year times 10 doesn't add up to doing all of them.
Anything further from the council? All those in favor? Opposed, motion passes.
Thank you, Jeff.
Item C, approve resolve R 2017-27 to approve pay requisition number 14 for the sewer treatment plant upgrade project in the amount of $16,380 to Oliver Engineering and $442,076.02 to Apex Construction, for a total of $458,456.02. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolve. Anything further from the public? From the council? All those in favor? Opposed, motion passes. Item D, to approve resolve R 2017-28 to approve upgrades to the Petroven gas oil system at the town garage in the amount of $9,525 to be paid from the equipment reserve account. Susan?
The town has a system at the town garage, a keyed system that keeps track of fuel usage, gas and diesel, for all vehicles that are town vehicles, plus RSU 25 vehicles, which also use the same fuel source, which is in excess of 68,500 gallons a year. And this system tracks by vehicle and by person how this works. It's a computer system that's hardwired from the computer in the Public Works Director's office to where the tanks are and the place where the key goes. But the system, the computer system, is a DOS-based system that's operating on a Windows 7 platform that cannot be shut off because the system will go down, and the computer system itself, the operating system, can't be updated with routine updates because the DOS system can't be supported on anything other than the version that it was at that time. It's on a laptop computer, which is the computer at the Public Works Director's office. And again, it can't be moved, it can't be shut off. And the system is not robust to track and download a month's worth of data at a time. It has to download in sections and requires, when it's downloaded, for things then to be entered manually in the reporting structure we have that breaks it down by department in order for us to appropriately allocate those expenses to police, fire, public works, etc., and to bill RSU 25 for their share of this product. What's before you is to bring this system into technology which it no longer uses keys, but instead has a touchpad where people would have code and vehicles would have a code number, as opposed to keys, which when lost are expensive to replace, or when people leave you're chasing them for when they go. But more importantly, it untethers a system from a hardwired system to a wireless system that communicates to this, and which also the software can be set up in the administrative office here so that Ann, who does the billing, can download as necessary to run reports and do this kind of system. I know that $9,500 is a lot of money. However, the current situation isn't workable on an ongoing basis because of the fact that the DOS system is no longer robust enough to even support our needs, and requires a lot of manual entry. As an example, when I came here in 2000 last year and was doing the 14-15 audit, the auditors gave me the information from gas diesel inventory, which is an audited part of it. They audit to make sure that the records we have from what we purchased to what we used match, and there's not missing. Well, there was a gap of almost 3,000 gallons, and they gave me the paperwork and said, doesn't match. And so I went over a year's worth of reporting that had been done where you take this information from the current system and plug it into a worksheet. And what had happened is there was a transposition in the third month of the year that when left there, by the end of the year, because one fed off the other one every month, had grown. And when I corrected that to the right number, we came back to where we should have been. But it took a lot of time, every time you have to enter a number manually into a system, your chances from getting that wrong go up one more exponent. So the point of this special event, and although I'm asking for approval now, the transition for this would not happen until the end of this fiscal year, when school is out. Because what I would like to do is transition town services into this system and then pick up the buses when they start again in the fall, so that there would be training required, and it's a different way of doing it. But again, it's a wireless system. It can operate on current technology as opposed to outdated technology. And with the volume of fuel that we track in order to appropriately, number one, make sure that it's all going where it's supposed to go, and number two, that we're billing appropriately to RSU and among the department budgets. I think it would be a good investment to make this. The Finance Committee talked about this at their meeting as well and recommended that this be allowed to move forward.
Okay, how would the council like to proceed?
One question we had, Susan, if you recall, it talked about
the fee,
billing.
the annual fee.
Yes.
It's $200 a year for the annual fee for the license.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
haven't heard the term DOS for about
That's what we talked
27
about.
years.
Well, which brings up I have a question. Is this, I was just rereading, load software on customer's computer. What kind of shape is the computer in? How old is that?
The computer isn't that old. Like I said, it has Windows 7. It doesn't have Windows 10, but it's capable of having Windows. It's just never been. It can't right now because you can't change, and you can't even do the normal updates on it. It's frozen in time.
But that was the point. It can be upgraded.
It can
to
be
version
upgraded.
10.
And if the town got a different computer for any reason, the software would be compatible with that.
Yep.
That
One last question.
version.
I understand this is wireless back and forth, but it's a laptop computer. So the point where I'm heading with this is, do we need a battery backup, or do they have a backup generator up there to snap on? And
they have a battery backup, but it's my understanding from the way this operates that the having something going every second isn't necessarily in the way this is. That the current, I don't know history well enough to know why, but the system that's in current use was purchased in 2011. And why a DOS-based system was purchased in 2011, I don't know. But it was DOS-based in 2011, and DOS has been missing for, and I'm not sure if it was even.
Are there security patches that are being done, or were they not able to be done on this?
They said they couldn't even.
They can't do any of that.
Yeah.
So we're vulnerable that way too.
So, but again, it's a, more than 68,000 gallons is a substantial cost, and it's something that we're required as part of our audit to track, and in a way that is you can do more than say that's what we did. We need to have an audit trail that shows.
I mean, I'm reading the description, and it's load software on customer's computer, train on programming and reports, electrical, use the existing conduits and wiring, new fuel control system using existing wiring from panels and pumps. So, I mean, to me, it sounds like Campbell's soup. It's in there.
Okay, how would the council like to proceed?
Motion to purchase.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolve. Anything further from the public? From the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item E, to approve Resolve R 2017-29, to approve the sewer commitment for the period of July 1st, 2016 to September 30th, 2016, in the amount of $200,334.46. How would the council like to proceed?
Did you say 208, or did you say 200?
He meant 208,
What they say?
200.
Okay, 208. Excuse me.
Motion approved?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolve. Anything further from the public? From the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, the next item is to go into executive session for the town manager's 6-month probationary review period. I would like to put that off until later in the council meeting here, so that we would go into executive session and then come back out if people wanted to stay. We're not sure how long that's going to last, and we'll come back out of executive session and take action on that. So we're going to go on to item 9 right now, which is resignations and appointments and assignments. And
And
elections.
elections.
I have a warrant that needs to be signed. It's the municipal warrant for the election coming up
Has to be signed by all the
by
councilors.
all the council.
What if we don't sign it?
Is this it?
No, this is
Come
the
visit me
sewer
in
user.
Dale.
There's another piece. Could I have
Red
that
water, I guess?
piece right there to go with it? Just goes with that.
Just need two of them signed.
That's the one that's coming out of this way.
Okay, while that's circulating, we'll go on to item 10, approval of quitclaim deeds at discharges. A being Cynthia Wood, trustees for map 32, lot 244 on 4 Pine Street. Do you have anything on this?
It's a quitclaim deed for a property that had been gone into foreclosure, which has been, the taxes have been paid to redeem it from foreclosure.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have motion and a second to approve the quitclaim deed for Cynthia Wood, trustees, map 32, lot 244 at 4 Pine Street. Anything from the public on this? From the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. We'll go to item 11, town manager's report from department heads.
The department head report you have there, my report. I have some of the best news you're going to hear today. You probably won't get as excited as I did, but I attended the construction plant meeting on Wednesday, and the Rural Development Association representative is there, and the new interest rate for this quarter for loans for these plants, which is, since our loan is now, temporary loan is now up, we have to convert that to a permanent loan. And when the town started working on this project a number of years ago, the estimate for the interest rate for that $7.8 million loan was 2.75%, which resulted in an annual payment over 28 years of $403,000 and change a year. But the rate that's available to us in this quarter is 1.85%. That's a 0.9% reduction, which translates to a saving in interest to ratepayers of the sewer system of $1,222,147.36 over the next 28 years, which is huge for the town and huge for ratepayers. Our share of that, because the 3 communities share in that debt, is $1,087,000. So Bucksport ratepayers will pay $1,087,000 less dollars for the construction of this plant than was originally estimated as part of the interest. And that, for us, breaks down to a debt service payment for the town of a little less than $34,000 a year less than what the town had estimated. So I was very excited to come back and run the math and see what 0.9% did, and it did a lot of good stuff. I'm also pleased to announce that Bucksport was selected as one of 4 communities to receive a $10,000 broadband planning grant by Eastern Maine Development Corporation. We'll be part of a pilot project that develops a plan for each community, but also a template for use by other communities interested in expanding broadband in their communities. There's a block party at the golf course from 4 p.m. on this Sunday for the Heart and Soul program. Come and share some food and fellowship and your stories and learn more about this program in Bucksport. Election. The clerk is and the front office are being overwhelmed with absentee ballot requests, which is a good thing, and those voting in the front office. There will be additional helpers in the office the week before the election to help with processing these requests. And if the volume of absentee requests continues over the next week, we may start that a week earlier. The office is somewhat clogged up by, and I don't mean that in a negative way, I just mean that there's a lot of, we don't have to make people wait a long time for this, so we may bring in some ballot clerks ahead of time to help with the processing of these absentee, because it's all still absentee, it's not early voting, it's all absentee balloting. I'm happy to report that I've had 2 residents contact me this week about the Efficiency Maine program that is being offered to provide $1,000 worth of energy improvements for the $50 payment from the homeowner. The Enterprise ran an article on this last week, and I'm in hopes that more people will get in touch to find out if they qualify. It's a good program. Sunset Development will be in town again on Monday and Tuesday of next week to complete one side of Main Street, and will then begin the other side for the concrete sidewalks. We appreciate your patience as this project continues. The town docks and the marina floats will be removed for the season next week. A reminder that Ghostport festivities will be held on Saturday, October 22nd from 10 to 10, starting with a parade at 10 in the morning, right up to a showing of Halloween at 10 o'clock at the Alamo that night. This week on Saturday from 10 to 2, Bucksport is sponsoring a Touch-a-Truck event at the high school, which is on Saturday, and vehicles from Bucksport Police Department, Fire Department, the Public Works Department, Bangor Police Department's Bomb Squad truck and robot, Penobscot County Sheriff's Office and its mobile crime lab truck, the Maine State Fire Marshal's mobile command vehicle, tow trucks from Dave's Auto Repair and towing, and more. So bring the kids and have a good time. And finally, the Lighthouse Arts Center is having an opening celebration on Friday, October 14th, tomorrow night, from 6 to 9 p.m. at 86 Main Street here in Bucksport, and people are encouraged to stop by for art demonstrations, meeting teachers and artists, getting a sneak peek of the gallery artwork, and checking out classes. So there's lots of interesting things happening.
Thank you. Yeah, just to follow up on 2 of those, regarding the docks and marina coming out, last town council meeting, we all approved the new marina rates for 2017. I was at the marina last Saturday, met with Bill Chandler, and he told me at that time all but one slip was committed for next season, and that one had somebody's name on it, first right of refusal, but the success of the marina that going into next year. And then I just wanted to thank the town manager on this broadband planning grant, because in last month's meeting, September 29th, it was, I will be submitting an application for broadband blah 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 through Maine Development Corporation, and here we are October 13th, basically 2 weeks later, and we have the grant coming in. It all has to do with town manager was in the right place at the right time, said the right things, did the right things, and anyway, 2 weeks later we have a grant. I think that's, thank you, town manager.
And one more thing for Susan also. With the treatment plant loan change, is that something that the people that pay their sewer bill, maybe they could see a reduction next year, or how would that, is that something that would change?
We had a sewer committee meeting tonight. to talk about the staffing of the plant moving forward. Maine Water currently holds the license that staffs our current plant, and the town has one employee. The license level for a secondary treatment facility is higher. The town had received today actually a draft proposal from Maine Water for staffing that new facility moving forward, which is significantly higher than the current cost. The committee asked me to run some numbers to see what the difference is between the town operating that facility with its own additional personnel as opposed to Maine Water doing it, and then come back at another meeting later in November to look at that. What's positive here with the change in interest and the way the budget has looked this year is that the idea that rates won't have to go up for a significant amount of time is substantial. There's a possibility that it could go down, but the council is going to need to determine how it's staffing that facility moving forward before it makes that decision.
And the staffing, it's not just do we need one or two people, it's the licensing requirements of the new facility that add to the necessary changes, so that plays a big factor in it.
And as I said, the committee started discussing that tonight. Something needs to be in place prior to July 1. It actually needs to be in place prior to the time the town accepts that treatment plant as complete and begins its operation on its own. And that will be between July 1st and September 1st of next year. But the current contract with Maine Water expires June 30th of 2017.
As you do with everything, if you keep us updated, that'd be great.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're going to go on to item 12, is set public hearings or hold public hearings and approval of any licenses or permits. The first one being hold a public hearing for repealing and updating Appendix A through D of the Town General Assistance Ordinance. Declare the public hearing open. Susan?
Annually, the town is required to update these appendices, which are the maximums established by the state in terms of granting general assistance based on what area that each community is in, and it defines how much can be allowed for rent and lights and all of those expenses, and what the maximums for income can be for people who apply for the programs. And as I said, this is an annual update. These are provided to us through the Maine Municipal Association, which is provided them by the state. So a public hearing is required. They get adopted as part of our general assistance ordinance, and then when people come to make application for assistance, these are guidelines that have to be used in making those determinations.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Any input from the public on this issue? If not,
Well, real quick, I just wondered, do you know what, Susan, what the percentage was of either the increase or decrease?
I'm not sure percentage-wise. My brain's not working.
Was there an increase though, or
A slight increase.
a slight increase? Okay.
Yes. Very small one in terms of the overall amount of
assistance that's
of
out
assistance of income for a one-person household in Hancock County to receive assistance from the town. Their income can't be more than $653, and that's a very low income level for someone to be living on per month. But if you have more than that, there's not an eligibility.
okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Declare the public hearing closed. Do we have to act on this? Take a vote on this? How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved. Second.
We have motion and a second to approve the repeal and the updating of Appendix A through D of the Town General Assistance Ordinance. Anything further from the public? From the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. We do have one license, I believe. I'm going to try this. It's Dino Kissamatakis, doing business as a House of Pizza. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second?
We have motion and seconded to approve the license of the Bucksport House of Pizza. Anything further from the public? From the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item 13 is discussion items not on the agenda for the council or the public. Are there any discussion items from the public?
Good evening. Just wanted to update you on a couple of things that have happened recently. Last week, the police had coffee with a cop. I went there with them. They had somewhere they had to be during one of the sessions, so that's why I tagged along. Very successful at McDonald's. We then went to Dunkin' Donuts. The bakery had a stellar day. They had sold over 200 donuts before 8:30 in the morning. And then we went to Bookstacks. Yes, the police chief and the police did eat 3 dozen themselves. Yesterday I had 13 freshmen from Bucksport High School with community service, and I'm pleased to let you know that between Guggens Park and the waterfront, they picked up 22 bags of leaves. So they worked very hard and did a great job. So I'd like to thank the RSU, and that would be Mr. Cowing's class. Today I had the opportunity to be on Ames property at the mill site, and deconstruction's going around nicely. It's coming down. Initial reports looks like that everything will be done around first, second week of March. Thank you.
Any other discussion items from the public? From the council?
One quick one.
Yes,
Have we
sir.
had any updates on the properties out to Long Pond?
No.
Okay.
Any other discussion items? Okay, let's go on to item 14, upcoming public hearings, designation of topics for committee assignments, and scheduling committee meetings. A being set a waterfront committee meeting to discuss a request to replace a memorial on the Bucksport Walkway. Who's the chairman of the waterfront committee? There you go.
Next town council meeting is Thursday, November 10th. Can we go for 6:30?
We got one on 29.
27.
Sorry, right church, wrong.
Right, 29, 27.
Now, did I read in the
Yeah,
letter
27th.
that they're going to be up the week of the 25th, and they wanted to do something then, or something like that? Was that the people that were asking about?
Yes, they're going to be up the week of the 23rd.
23rd.
So can we meet next, am I on that committee? I think I am. I have nights off, so. I like having nights off.
I got the impression that they were hoping for some sort of a decision to be able to do it while they were up here, if I read it right.
Waterfront committee is Peter Paul, myself. So,
What's good for you?
the,
Any night?
October.
Just
What would work for you then?
anything but tomorrow night.
I agree, everything, that's fine. Well, if they're gonna be in the 23rd, can we shoot for,
Next
One.
Thursday?
pardon me?
I don't know, next Thursday?
Yeah, what time? That work for you, Peter?
5, 4. I mean, whatever time works for the public too, but, I mean,
Yeah, 5 or 4 would be great.
Okay, why don't we go for 4 o'clock on the 20th?
Sure.
Okay, does this have to come back for the council on the 27th?
Yeah, but they're saying that this
They wanna
person
be
is
here on the
coming in here the
23rd,
week of
right.
the 23rd, so if we can give them an answer, that would, that's still
Is it
okay with you
something
guys? Okay.
Just thinking.
Is it something we can address right now while the whole council's here?
The reason it was going to committee is because there's any number of things that people want to put on the walkway at any number of, some have asked for permission and some have just put them on the walkway. It's my understanding. And so I don't know, it appears to me there's no policy in this regard.
We
And-
talked about having a policy a long time ago and that we needed one, but apparently nothing happened.
Before my time.
Long before your time.
But we don't even know what the memorial is or anything, correct? I mean,
No.
and their letter does say they're going to be up the week of the 23rd, so to be honest with you, I'd like to have them here, and if we did it on the say the 24th or 25th, and if we could get back to them and have them
Or
here.
worst case, we'll bring it up earlier on our town council meeting.
Yeah,
night.
but I mean, all it says is a memorial, and if we're going to meet, I'd like to know what it is, and if they're going to be here, maybe we could notify them back through their email, to have them show up at our, whenever we decide to have this meeting.
So why do we have the meeting on the 20? Well, I was looking at the wrong month, sorry.
Well, what we could do is email them and ask them if they're going to be available on the 27th.
On the night of the council,
which
exactly.
is the council
Yeah.
meeting. If they're going to be here the week of the 23rd.
If not, then we can coordinate a meeting that week prior to,
Right.
and then just post it. We'll have plenty of time to post it still.
And would you have the waterfront committee meeting before that council meeting
Yeah.
so that they could attend?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
based on their email reply,
Okay,
or
okay.
let it go to the 27th.
All
Any
right.
day that week is fine with me.
It could even be at 6 o'clock that night, isn't it really?
You could do it, yeah, just before the meeting.
So is that okay to do, Kathy?
Is that okay with you,
And that will
Ken?
be pending getting an answer back from them if they're available or not?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's go on to item B, schedule ordinance committee meeting for review of the Charter 6 of the Town Code. Peter, you're the chairman of that.
Yeah, that's an ongoing, Chapter 6 is not short, nor is it easy to go through, so that's just an ongoing one that we're having monthly. If we can schedule that waterfront one for 5:30, and then we could do the ordinance at 6 at night and just take an hour of that evening.
So you're talking the 27th?
27th, yeah. If they're available for the 27th for that waterfront, we can do that at 5:30,
Yeah, okay.
and then run into the ordinance at 6.
6, okay.
That'd be great.
Well, let's set the ordinance for 6, and we'll base their waterfront one on what their availability is.
Who's on that ordinance committee, Kathy?
I think you are.
I think so too.
Ordinance, Peter, Paul, and
David Key.
David Key.
That one I know of, because we have that committee quite often.
Okay, we're going to go back to, before adjournment, we're going to go back to item F, executive session for town managers, 6-month probationary review. How would the council like to proceed? We could have a motion.
Motion to go into executive session?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go into executive session. We will be coming out of executive session and taking a vote, okay? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. That's it, final cash. Total match.
Were they here for something, or were they here just to watch?
Right?
Yeah, probably a project at school.